Turns out he's a major cinephile. They don't watch enough movies! It's a very simple formula! And here we go. Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of this Pop Culture Palooza podcast. Nick Nack Goes to the Movies, where I, the aforementioned Nick, continue to watch and talk about movies and shows, no matter how random they are. I've never met a movie I did not like, well, unless it was Rob Zombie giving his horror takes on the Halloween franchise, or one of the latest and certainly not greatest A24 films, Men. Starting off firing the hot take cannons already. You already know my punching bag movies if you're a long-time listener of the show. But what you should know is my take on Nope. Reviews have been fairly strong and consistent, excluding one 10 things list that has been making the rounds. But we are not here to talk about that. Instead, let's see and hear how the latest of the Jordan Peele horror movies stacks up, not compared to each other. I already talked about Get Out, I think on like a Valentine's Day episode a while back, and one day I need to rewatch Us to get and remember my take on that. So instead, let's just see if Jordan Peele has another smash hit on his hands at the box office. So who's in this movie? The usual question before we get to the meat and potatoes of the episode. Let's be real. I probably know the exact same 4 actors you know from this. The main draws outside of the Jordan Peele name on things. One day I need to take a test drive on his take on the Twilight Zone series, especially because, Ithaca, the original Ithaca College, you just gotta support, right? But how can you have a Peele movie without Daniel Kaluuya? Yes, they did Us, but still not the same. He had to give up a role in the Black Panther sequel, which, yes, that trailer looks fire, and I'm bummed about it. It is, his role was a smaller supporting role to begin with versus a lead in another Peele spooky movie. You gotta respect the choice, especially with how good he was in Get Out. And he has so many movies I need to see that I just haven't got around to yet. Queen and Slim, Judas and the Black Messiah. Especially with him being one of my favorite Black Mirror episodes / movies, however you want to classify those, 15 Million Merits. Can't wait for that new season of that. And yes, go check out that episode of the podcast if you haven't yet. I had a couple guests not on it, but they got some lists out there in social. Shout out Elise and Caleb, legends of Lambo. Also, weirdly, Daniel Kaluuya is in Kick-Ass 2, a movie I keep meaning to rewatch and see if I like it or not. I saw it once and wasn't sure. Need to get on that and figure out. First one, loved it. Second one, not super sure. Wow, that was a lot for one actor, but it won't get any shorter talking about Keke Palmer. Of course, there's Akeelah and the Bee and Jump Rope, the Disney Channel original movie, Jump In. Jump In, that's what it is, with Corbin Bleu. Following those early roles with her forays afterwards into horror, arguably some of the lighter ones like Scream Queens, still waiting for that Season 3 and Scream Season 3. Also, brief Scream franchise ran. Neve Campbell should be in every Scream movie. Pay her. I can't wait for the new movie. I love the Scream movies. You guys know that by now. Love that Hayden Panettiere is coming back, and they have some other actors added to the mix I'm excited for, but Neve Campbell, come on, put her in the movie. But for the shows, we'll continue the Scream rant. Season 2 and 3 need hard releases for my collection on my now bookshelf. Thank you, Elise and Walmart. Also, the Lakewood Scream story needs a final wrap-up season ASAP. Willa Fitzgerald, John Carna, Bex Taylor Klaus, and Carlson Young deserve better. But to Keke Palmer quick, yes, she was also in some odder things like The Big Mouth and the spinoff, which I love, and a Hustlers, which was not so good for me at least, even with the GOAT, Cardi B. And now, of course, Nope. She is becoming a bit of a scream queen, not Cardi B, Keke Palmer. And she never, spoiler alert, dies in any of these. How about that? She's like the inverse Sean Bean, but respect Sean Bean. Legendary best actor out there. Now, while these are the mainstays, everyone knows them both. I would be shocked if people didn't know who both those actors are at this point. I was super excited for Steven Yeun. Now, is most of that because of the Walking Dead role and his excellent portrayal of Glenn? It sure is. I do still like the show. I'm actually a season behind and can't watch anything because I can't pay for AMC Plus. That feels, I can't convince myself that that's worth it. It's not. I'll just wait for the hard release if that's what it takes, unfortunately. And I like one of the spinoffs. Yes, it's Fear for sure. Not Worlds Beyond. Hell no to that one. Or as this movie is called, Nope. But that show really did have some amazing actors and characters in the early seasons. When they lost Shane, played by John Bernthal, Dale, played by Jeffrey DeMunn, and after they ruined Andrea, played by Laurie Holden, there was a bit of a drop-off. I still like it, but you could tell. Now, he also has some great, other roles. I mean, weirdly, this is like a one-off TV show, but his Drunk History episode was great. That show really should be brought back. Yeah, it was canceled because of COVID, but come on, that show was maybe the best thing Comedy Central has been putting out in ages. His voice acting roles have also done some great things with the other Amazon superhero show, Invincible, and the free-ish therapy show in the same vein that BoJack Horseman was, Tuca and Birdie. Go watch Tuca and Birdie. First season's on Netflix, the second season's on HBO Max, or whatever you want to call that now, and the third season is coming out also on whatever this HBO thing is. And while his role is brief here, Keith David is a legend, a true legend with an amazing voice. His villainous role in Prince and the Frog, great villain song in general. The Saints Row franchise, which was more my speed compared to the GTA. That is probably the hottest of takes, especially because the new one's not on the Switch, which is pretty messed up. Same with Injustice 2. I want certain things on the Switch that I'm never going to get, but I guess we can go on a rant forever. The Skyrim update is great for next-gen stuff, but maybe put it on Switch too? Come on. They released Skyrim 5 times over by now. Come on. Do the best you could do. Also, Keith David's in Rick and Morty recently enough, among so many others. So let us appreciate and respect his career. What a voice. Outside of the big role actors, no one else is someone I've heard of, but that's okay. You can kind of get lost in the story. You can sit down, watch the movie like I did, get this unique take on horror, and see another Peele masterpiece. So here we are with Nope. Now, there are two things to talk about with Nope. There is, of course, the plot and the storytelling. That's one thing. And the usual thing that goes through and put out on Nick Nekos movies. The next one is a little bit different, specifically for this movie, is what does it all mean? There are so many different morals and messages you can pull out of this, and I will share with you all what I thought, what others think, and more. We love an open interpretation mixed in with some scares. So, to the plot first, you might be confused when this movie kicks off with, it goes back to the past sometimes, too, with a failed children's family sitcom TV show taping. I feel like I have had this happen a few times recently enough where I go into a movie theater and I sit down and something feels like maybe did I go into the wrong theater, and I'm nervous that I'm going to start seeing Despicable 3 Minions Rise of Gru, the movie or something. But with Jordan Peele movies, you kind of have to expect the weird and the unexpected. Expect the unexpected, yeah. And I am all about weird, let's be real. Rather be weird than normal. Don't want to be a suit, a square. I've never been accused of it, never will. The baseball coaches at Marist back in the time definitely gave me the seal of approval that I'm not just one of the suits. So, no big deal. Put some respect on it. Where were we? To the movie. And this scene in question with this failed children's sitcom with a guest star that was not a person. Bringing a live animal is probably going to be an iffy thing that we'll bring up here and there as something this movie likes to talk about. It's all about trauma and overcoming it. Something near and dear to, I'd say, my heart, but also this podcast. I was hooked from that alone. But outside of this, I had no clue Keith David was in this. And with his amazing voice acting prowess and all that, I was jazzed for him. I knew it was him immediately. What an iconic voice. But man, was he out quickly. Even this was some crazy stuff with a mystery of getting coined in the eye, falling from the sky. And, he was dead pretty quick. Now, for us as a viewer, we knew something about aliens and such from the sky. That much was clear. And honestly, I was surprised the marketing for this movie gave even that away. Many worse things have teased entire movie plots with trailers, so this was nothing compared to whole summaries we've gotten in 2 to 3 minute trailers that give away like the 3 acts of beginning, middle, and end somehow. Now, as a video movie guy myself, there is always some like a moment of joy and recognition of any movie set type stuff behind the scene thing. So seeing that's always fun. And finding a way to use real world events and moments in cinematic history to further convey parts of the story, especially of disenfranchisement. Once again, great. That and the whole theme of controlling uncontrollable things. In this case, those things are presented as animals, seeing things go so wrong, and to have, not as wrong as in the sitcom in this, but, there's a horse and things go a little wrong and it's replaced by one of those, green screen things. This has to be some sort of take on cinema. I love the prequel Star Wars movies and a lot of Marvel things. But those sets a lot of times are a bunch of green and blue screens, floors, walls with a ton of effects put in after. It's rare to see movies that are really shot in the real world for either the most or entire parts. Don't get me wrong, I love those things out there, but it is an interesting note to how things in movies are changing, right? While Kaluuya plays a very different character that maybe I wasn't expecting, less charismatic, and people might think that's a bad thing, but that leaves more room in contrast to Keke Palmer being able to shine in her over-the-top way. Her constant dance breaks and dreams to make it big are top tier. She kills this movie and steals the show, but that was always going to be, I think, the point with the story. But let's not get it twisted. Her over-the-top nature pairs well with the more reserved Daniel Kaluuya character. He did a great job too. Let's make sure that people are not saying crazy-ish and slander about him and his role. Put some respect, right? Let's knock it off and say he was bad in the role, because he was great. A lot of good things, right? Do I pretty much follow things Steven Yeun did because of his amazing role as Glenn in The Walking Dead? You already know that answer. I answered it earlier. Yes, I do. I can admit that and have no problem with that. He's one of the best characters and actors in that show, and while I still watch it, losing him was tough, but it also paved the way for a pretty quality Jeffrey Dean Morgan Negan, and he continues to bring good stuff to the show as well. So, to have Steven Yeun in this movie was a big deal for me. I haven't seen him in a ton of movies as a more titular lead. Now, the poster having his name was great. You figured he's one of the main 3 guys. But even from the trailers, I wasn't so confident in his longevity and role in this movie. And I was kind of right. He was fun, he was tortured, and eventually tried to profit off his grief and his traumatic experience, which props for monetizing that and trying to control a much larger, meaner creature. Maybe that's not so good. He got. He, his family, and everyone else at his crazy ranch attraction. By the end of the movie, they were just a casualty to show us more of what it is to deal with this thing, which we assume is a ship. Turns out, the big spoiler, which never was teased, the ship is a whole alien that sucks and eats things up. And that scene with the alien eating everybody and seeing what they were going through being digested, that was a lot. Before I move to the main group of people in this movie, the notion of aliens and having, kids dressed up as a bunch of aliens, kind of messed around with the farm for a bit, that was pretty creepy too. It did eventually become funny, but especially with Kaluuya absolutely decking one of them in the face, a normal reaction we would all have. Now, of course, the main part of this movie is, outside of that, broken up into 2 things: surviving the massive alien creature eating them up, and documenting its existence to get famous and get the Oprah shot. Every interaction Palmer has with Kaluuya, especially they're talking about what the Oprah shot is, it's just, things are just fun. And Palmer really is a treat getting to act out her over the top self. Same thing with Scream season 3. She killed it on that show too. Scream Queens, which is a over-the-top show by its own right, she's actually more on par with everyone else for how absurd the show and the characters are. She actually might be the more reserved character of that show. I think she has to be. But to this movie, every time that creature is like chasing someone or something down, it's like so fast, makes little noise, and it's pretty scary. Like, the only notion they have is electrics going a little wonky, but especially seeing this thing like spit out all the non-people stuff or making it rain, like literally making it rain, so much blood that it gave their house a whole new paint job. Another fun take that kind of brings to mind is this movie Nope. It's actually Jordan Peele's modern take on Jaws, or at least the same genre, style, energy of movie. It's not like The Meg, but think about this. There is this creature out there. People don't believe in it. They really don't believe in this one, right? A lot of people are getting eaten, beach, just the world, getting sucked up into the sky, and eventually someone has to deal with this creature. I saw Jaws too late in life to be fully scared by it, especially because I love sharks, always want a pet hammerhead shark, TBD. Unlike Jaws nowadays, this could really scare some people of the other unexplored expanse. First, you could be traumatized by things deep in the water, now deep from the sky or outer space. Spooky. So initially, this has nothing to do with killing the monster or opening up the beaches for economic growth from a seaside town. More modernly, this horrifying thing exists. Initially, the let's get famous from it, make some money idea. It's a modern day thing we all want. Coworker Jeremy and I talk about it time and time again. The goal, the true end goal of everyone, definitely not just us two, at least us two, but probably a lot of influencers in the same way. We want to get paid to exist. One day, Jeremy, you and me will hopefully both get paid to exist. That's the hope. That's the dream. If you want to help me out, big companies listening to Nick Net Goes to the Movies, I would love some crazy podcast deal. I would love to get free Cotto and all the other goals. Marcus Theaters, if you want to hook me up, I'd love to be in one of your commercials that goes before the movies. I go to your theater a lot, so let's make it happen. But enough about me, I guess. I think I would say Nope and the two of us would probably get out with this alien above us. I think that would be our plan of attack if Jeremy and I had this. We don't think we'd be going for the same, let's make it big and track this alien down. Now, yes, that was wordsmith art to get a bunch of movie names into one coherent sentence. What are we? Some kind of Suicide Squad? Love when a movie drops the name in the movie, right? It's my favorite thing. I don't think this movie did it. Well, they said Nope a lot, but that's when you got a one-word answer, that's pretty universal, especially in a scary movie. That's going to happen, right? So, the quest to get this creature on camera is fun enough, first with a ton of security cameras, and eventually a legendary director using his desire to get that perfect shot. Something I get too in my sports filming job, but I'm not going to kill myself to get this piece of art. No ear cutting off for my artistic passions here. Also, while this capture is on camera or film, that's the main goal here. The idea of controlling this creature like an animal, could be like one of the horses Daniel Kaluuya has to break to, be good, especially if they're going to be horses in Hollywood. It's a neat dangled thread, something I've hung on to time and time again as this theme came back up for me a few times over and throughout this movie. But when things are starting to shape up, they bring in not only the equivalent of a Best Buy Geek Squad guy, but a well-known cinematographer. And I love that guy's rough, gruff, and tough attitude. There are not a lot of characters in this movie, but the main 5 or so all interact with each other in a fun way and make the small main cast just sing. The whole plan of, getting this thing, pretty fun, of using a way to track the creature with electronics and inflatable waving arm tube men. But like Jaws, or a lot of these kind of movies, someone wants to break the news and be the big story themselves, and the whole plan almost gets ruined not once, but twice by people who want to either, get big or, from one cinematographer, get the perfect shot. The plan works, and this guy, he just can't help himself. And let's be real, his amazing cinematography and shot, getting as great as he is, doesn't really work when he gets eaten up, and his camera almost assuredly, the amazing footage he got, which we kind of saw, it didn't look that great, gets lost and damaged forever. The artist struggle. Now, as someone who was a big Lovecraft Country fan, the show was amazing on whatever we call HBO, Discovery, nonsense, whatever it is. For the love of all things DC, Warner Brothers, and more, please figure this ish out. I wanted Brendan Fraser in Batwoman. The DCU is a complete mess, and I've seen the 3 ideas. Let's be real. We don't know if this movie's going to come out with The Flash either for obvious reasons. So, everything's brutal. I hate it all. I hate living here. The Snyder stuff, we could have gotten and had a normal, coherent storyline. We were close, but now it's all over the place, and HBO Max is on seemingly life support. Sad times for what I thought was the best of the streaming platforms. But I bring up Lovecraft Country because the saucer vacuum creature was not just a big flat circle hiding in the clouds, the way it was first found out with some fake-ass stationary clouds. Instead, it becomes some massive, haunting, and beautiful, angelic creature. It was very cool looking. The design and VFX designers made something really cool for this equivalent of a final boss second form. You get it, video game people. You get it and me. Now, I really expected Kaluuya to die sacrificing himself. Another person who thought he could control something he could not. Horses are one thing, this flying alien thing, not so much. But this, of course, led to the best part of the movie, the climax, with Keke Palmer as another variation of another successful final girl. Her fight and plan to not film this thing anymore, but to actually kill it, that was something else. Getting all the way to that ranch and have that thing inhale a big inflatable cowboy guy. Something that really would mess up and blow up its digestive tract. And all that, and still getting a picture from this sky photo machine from the old Western place that Yeun's character had. What a tense visual spectacle. And her brother being alive too at the end. You know they're both going to be making it big after that. Not only stopping this creature, but capturing it in photo form. They're going to finally get that respect that was taken away from their family so long ago, having this footmark in cinema history that they just never were able to profit off of. And this was just a tense, fun, thought-provoking film. And maybe not as easily understood as Get Out, and a bit more abstract and ethereal. It's something you should watch at least once, probably twice, as all the good movies with scares are. I don't know if you can call it true horror movie, because there's elements of sci-fi. It's a little more hybrid, but I'd say it's a scary movie to a degree. So that is the plot, and I have danced around this. With this movie, more than most, you could walk away with a what was the meaning or have one in mind. So let's dig deeper into that with this movie, which deserves it, for the true meaning of Nope. Now, this is a hard one because there's no real answer for it. I think Get Out had a clear message. I don't know if I can recall or remember the Us one, which is why, like I said, I'll get on that at some point and watch that again. But this movie has so many thought-provoking ideas out there. So before I give away some of them, let's see what some other people who watched Nope with me picked up from it. What was their personal moral of the story moments from this latest Jordan Peele horror flick?
This is Ryan here, giving my opinion on the movie Nope. I would say that the movie, I really don't know what the movie was about. I just watched it to be entertained. Jordan Peele was the director, so I'm sure it had something to do with the dynamics of America, whether that be police brutality, race, or get-rich-quick schemes. I really have no idea. I just watched it to be entertained.
What is up, Nick's podcast fan? My name is Allie. My Instagram is at ALLIERENA. That is Allie Rena. Let's talk about Nope. So we all went and saw Nope together, as you guys probably know. I would say, to me, the theme was kind of spooky. All of those movies are kind of spooky, really get your mind going, which I kind of like. But yeah, I just think it made you think. I don't even know what the overall message was. I don't really have a good pinpoint on that.
Now you've heard what some friends of the show and simultaneous Nope viewers took away from this. So here is what I got. No, this is not just an alien movie, or in this case, an alien horror movie. No way is it that cut and dry. I kind of like the idea of this movie being about the commentary and criticism about how much under surveillance we are. You have the alien monster trying to survey them, or all the cameras being around the movie and trying to surveil this alien thing, right? As this podcast is based a lot of the time on overcoming trauma and real world therapy, that could be part of it. That sometimes is the clear-cut nature of the Steven Yeun storyline. And honestly, like the idea of profiting off the traumatic moments of your childhood, I don't mind that. That's an interesting idea, you know? I mean, you want to take power over these rough moments from your experience, but I'm sure there's tasteful, not tasteful ways to do it, but it's an interesting idea. There could be something about suffering for your art or people doing crazy things to make it big in influencer culture. I also like that idea a lot. I mean, like we said, who wouldn't want to get paid to exist and just do whatever nonsense they do to make money? I would love to be paid to exist. I'm not going to say that that's not a hope and a maybe eventual outcome. It's going to take a bit, but that would be something. But immediately after this movie, the takeaway for me was this. I think there was some message about trying to control the uncontrollable and the eventual failure of trying to do this, in this case personified by the movie's constant reminders of controlling animals and creatures and when that fails or when that works. Gordy the monkey, big failure, murdered people. Kaluuya and his taming horses things mostly works and nobody's getting murdered. Yeun trying to have an understanding with this massive sky vacuum alien who's somehow a ethereal creature in disguise, not good and people get murdered. But Kaluuya's kind of has some rapport with this beautiful haunting alien thing, and it doesn't always end up with him dying apparently, so it's interesting. There are so many takeaways from this very good movie, but this was my initial takeaway that stuck out in my mind the most right afterwards. But that brings up the segue to my next part of this episode. I think it was good, but how good is good for me and all my guests? Some Letterboxd reviews. First, we have a few fellow Nopers who not only gave their take on the meaning or takeaway they had from Nope, so it was only fair to get their Letterboxd rating too, as well as why. For those unfamiliar with Letterboxd, it's a social media site for cinephiles like you and I. You can rate, review, and connect with other media people like me on there. So make sure to check out knickknack_IC there. So, these guests are going to rate this movie out of 5 stars. You can have half stars. Those are the rules. So with that, take it away, gang.
I did find it entertaining, but I would say the movie was just kind of alright. It was, it was no Up. It was no Green Mile. It was probably about a 3.5 out of 5. It wasn't as good as Get Up, but it was solid. So that would be my opinions on the movie Nope.
I will give it a 4 out of 5. I thought it was pretty good, kept me entertained the entire time. Couple jump scares, but nothing too scary. Definitely got your mind thinking, though. I would say it was good. Thank you for listening.
So I'm going to go, great analysis by our guests and fellow Nopers. I'm going to go 4 stars. I thought it was a really good movie. It was a bit of a slow burn. I don't mind that. I don't know why I can't go 4.5. I don't know if it's just because I think at times the movie felt a little more small scale than maybe I would have liked. Maybe that's the biggest thing I can think of. It felt like it was a territorial alien thing. We don't know why. It had a rapport and with the guy getting horse sacrifices to it, and that was fine until it wasn't fine. And it was getting a little dinged up from some other people trying to deal with this alien thing, which, it would be a concern. I think the performances are great. I think the only thing I can think of is maybe it's just a little too small scale for my liking. And I wish it was not massive, but just a little bigger. I'm pretty happy with Nope, though. I could give it another watch, and I think I'd be cool with that. I don't know if I need to rewatch it forever, but I'm pretty cool with it. I don't know if I gave a crazy analysis to Nope, and that feels weird. I had a fun time. It was tense. I just don't know. You guys know I'm not giving anything a 5. So a 4.5 for me has to be pretty up there. And this was great, but it might be just a smidge under. So we're all caught up once again. I'd say that. But it's almost a couple days into August. And a lot of those early August movies are coming out. We got Bodies, 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 Prey, and I've already seen Bullet Train. We're going to see Bodies, Bodies, Bodies the same day I'm recording this. Bullet Train was a few days ago, and I will get to Prey. I've heard some surprisingly good things about Prey. I don't know if any of these were like the oh my gosh, watch preemptively. I was excited and hopeful that at least one of these is going to blow me away, either in theaters or the Predator one on Hulu. I'll give you a little teaser. My money was initially on Bullet Train. That feels like an accurate preemptive what I was hoping for. TBD on Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I don't know if I have expectations for that and Pete Davidson yet. I'm excited to see Pete Davidson in a horror movie, but no expectations for Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. And I've heard a lot of things about Prey, so I don't know if people are talking a mighty fine up about this Prey prequel movie. And as someone who doesn't mind most of the Predator movies, the first 3 I actually think are all fine enough. I'm curious if this is as good as people are saying. But we'll talk about these and discover these things together on our adventures next episode. So until then, cheers, and as always, until next time, cinephiles. Are you not entertained? I think this is going to be the beginning of a beautiful friendship. I don't like goodbyes. Let's just call this see you later, alligator.